All right, everyone, welcome to my show. I should be saying like what the name of the show is, but I'm always thinking I'm going to change the show name. But for now, it's Celebrity Josh. And today, off to a good start. My guest is, okay, let's see, Segun Bamiji. Is that right?
Segun Adekoye.
That's what I meant. Segun
Adekoye.
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 Adekoye. Okay, is it different from what's written on Skype, or is that just how it's pronounced?
No, it's different from what's written on Skype.
Okay, so I'm not a complete fool. Okay, Adekoye, because it's written Olabamiji. What is
Yeah,
that?
that's my middle name.
Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. So
Yeah.
for those of you who can see this, I'm recording this video call on Skype, so I'll put it on YouTube, and I'll also take the audio and put it on all your favorite podcast apps. So there you go. Two options for everyone. And Segun. Is it Segun?
Segun.
Segun?
Correct.
Okay, so there's like an invisible H in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so Segun is in Toronto, and I am in Ottawa, and we just started chatting before I started recording, and I'm like, oh, this conversation is actually seeming interesting. So I was like, wait, let's stop talking. Let me record it first. Because I was just saying I'm in Ottawa, and I used to be in Toronto, and then I'm staying with my parents right now, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life. He asked if I liked Ottawa, and I said, yeah, it's very pretty. I grew up here. And I think I've come to realize that it's not so much the city you live in. It's more, are you doing what you want to do? Are you surrounded by the people you want to be with? And then you can find that joy anywhere. So I really need to figure that out. I left my copywriting job 5 years ago, and I've been doing a little freelance, a little voice acting, but none of it is satisfying me. So I'm rethinking everything. This weekend I had the realization, oh my God, I should have been a university professor, or I should have been a high school teacher. I love being around kids. I've always loved that. I've always loved school. And I don't know why I didn't pursue that. So I'm kind of frustrated. But then Segun was just saying it's good to reassess and think about life plans. And I guess my problem is that, I don't know, if you do it when you're young, you're like, okay, I'm 20, I'm going to do this. I'm excited. But when you're older, you think, okay, whatever I think of, maybe it's too late. Maybe I've already wasted all my good years. So enough about me for now, though. So you sent me a little bio there. Do you want to read it out or describe what you're up to?
Okay. So I started off, doing marketing and sales at a bank. Worked with a creative agency. I was helping out with client services, and then I moved into advertising, and then I also moved into publishing. So I was doing a bit of journalism for about a year and a half, and then I moved into digital marketing at a bank, at one of the top banks, in Africa.
Okay, so where in Africa are you from?
Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay, so that's a Nigerian name, and you were in Nigeria. Very
Yeah.
cool. I was going to say I've never been to Nigeria, but I've never been anywhere. I was in South Africa once for a week to shoot a commercial for Visa, but that's as African as I've gotten. So Nigeria sounds very nice. Okay, so this is all happening in Nigeria
Yeah.
at a top bank there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So while I was there, like I enjoyed what I was doing because I was, leading digital marketing, social media, managing websites. And then this came off the top of the fact that I'd been designing websites for people, freelancing on my own before, going full time into the bank. And then some of the ideas I had, like, creating an online TV for the bank to engage the bank's young customers. I set it in motion, and then I created it. So we created something called Accelerate TV, which is live now, and is one of the top brands, top youth online TV in Nigeria that young people follow. They have interesting shows and channels and programs running right now. So some of the dreams and aspirations I had, growing up, like 10 years before that, in 2005, I dreamt or I desired to do filmmaking at New York Film Academy. And 10 years after that desire and dream, I was at New York Film Academy studying filmmaking. And I just knew that, whatever it was that I learned, I was going to put back into the bank to sort of help accelerate TV grow. I also wanted to understand how commercials were made, how video content, was created, how TV programs were created and all that. So I wanted to always understand, like, whatever it is that my agencies or vendors are doing, I always want to be able to converse with you from an informed standpoint, whereby I understand your processes and what you do and how I can sort of add value to that process. So that's why I took the course at New York Film Academy. And then again, because I was still doing marketing communications for the bank, I took a course in strategic marketing management at Harvard Business School in 2016. And somehow I set like trainings for myself every year. So part of my program for myself was every single year I have to add value to myself in a way. I have to just ensure that I add value to myself in one way or the other. So I'm always like reassessing myself. What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? What do I need to learn to improve, to become, or to get to the next level that I want to get to? So 2014, I took a course in digital marketing. 2015, I took a course at New York Film Academy. 2016, in marketing at Harvard Business School. 2017, I took a course in marketing at Kellogg School of Management. 2018, I'm handling a lot of projects and I need to understand project management like a project manager, since now a lot more responsibilities were placed on me. So I'm like, it won't be bad if I take my project management certification. So I took, PMP, and then I had project management. And then 2018, I also, landed in Toronto for the first time. And then I took a course in UX design because I also wanted to understand, since like the website management was part of my portfolio and we're also building apps, which are still part of my digital portfolio. I also wanted to understand what good design is, what user experience is, so that even if I'm making presentations to management or I'm making presentations to the board or I'm having conversations with the agency, if they say, oh, this is the reason why we're using this design or this color, I understand what they are saying, and then I understand what the customers want and all that. So UX design in 2018. 2019, I took an MBA. I started an MBA program in 2018 that I finished in 2019. I graduated in 2019. And then, yeah, I moved to Toronto I moved back to Toronto in 2019 fully. Like, I resigned from my job and then moved back to Toronto September 2019. And here I am now.
Okay, so all those courses you were taking at New York Film Academy and Harvard and Kellogg Business, were those online or were you traveling to New York and Boston and everything?
Traveling everywhere that I went to take those classes.
And then was the bank, like you said, hey, I'm going to go take this to improve myself, and so they gave you the time off, or did they pay for it, or how was that all working?
So yeah, so for some of them, like, the bank always gave me time off because the bank liked the fact that I was always trying to improve and, I was self-developing. And then for like one of the courses that I took at New York Film Academy, after I got back, the bank refunded my money. It wasn't the plan, but, the bank were like, oh, we like what you're doing and we like what you want to do. So here is your money back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, then when I went to Harvard Business School, I paid for that myself. But the bank sent me to Kellogg in 2017.
And how long was each of those courses? Like, it wasn't a whole year? Like, do you go for a couple of months each time to the things? Or?
Yeah, so for the course for the New York Film Academy course that I feel like.
Wait, sorry, you just cut out. I don't know if it's my headphones or is it you? One second. Can you say something? Try it again. I don't hear you. I'm just going to switch my headphones. 1 second. Oh, wait, you're back.
Okay. You can hear me now.
Is it because you moved?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
My
my
iPhone
iPhone
headphones are getting
headphones
all
are getting all
shredded and stuff because I sleep with them because I listen to podcasts at night, and I think I'm gonna have to get new ones or get the wireless ones or something. Need to upgrade my equipment because I'm still using an old iPhone 6, and yeah, the webcam sucks. It all sucks, but I figure I just need to keep churning out content in the meantime. You can't wait to have the perfect situation. Um, Sorry. So yeah, I was asking you how long these courses were. I find this all very interesting in case anybody else or myself wants to self-improve and take courses. Like, so was it a couple of months or like over the summer each time or what was it?
Yeah, so it was always so I always used my vacation every year to just I always traveled during my vacation. What I did was
Oh wait, you cut out again. I think it's you moving the computer there. Something to do with the
no,
mic.
no. It's
Okay, you're
not
back, but now you're
okay.
gone. Okay,
I'm
there,
gone
here.
again.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I said so like I sort of termed some what they call edu vacation. So like every year I had 4 weeks vacation and I would use the vacation to study. So if I decided that I would go to Singapore this year to spend an entire 1 month, I'll be looking for courses or programs or things that I could do to sort of improve myself in Singapore. So while I'm there, I'm schooling, I'm learning the culture, I'm meeting people, and I'm doing all of that. You understand?
Did you go to Singapore, or that's just an example?
No, that's just an example. So
Yeah.
every time I travel to US, I always learn something. So New York Film Academy was about 6 weeks, and then so I just took an additional 2 weeks from my vacation. So 4 weeks from my vacation, 2 weeks additional from the bank, and then I was there for 6 whole weeks. So I was studying. It was intense for 6 weeks, and then
Wow.
yeah, for Harvard and Kellogg, a lot of those programs were weekly. They were a whole week, like a whole full week, you know. And then for Brain Station, the program was for about 6 to 8 weeks. It was about 8 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say when you said UX design, I was like, oh, that must be Brain Station because that's.
Yeah.
Uh, I used to live a couple of blocks from there, and I've been in the building. Like it used to be a youth hostel, like for travelers, and then instead of tearing it down, they actually converted it into kind of like a learning hub. So there's a coffee shop there, but there's
Yeah.
also the Brain Station in the back, and I guess they have UX classes. I was at some kind of event there. I think it was a friend's daughter's book launch or something, but also some kind of UX event. Or I met all these UX people there for some reason. It was like a networking thing. I think they used to have networking evenings or something,
Yeah.
but I never understood UX. But I was like, wow, this sounds very useful, and it sounded like they have good courses, and
Yeah.
everybody was really into it. So that's what you were doing. So that must have been fun.
Yeah, it was fun meeting people, meeting different people, studying, learning, understanding what UX was all about.
Cool. And yeah, that's smart to like keep learning different things so that if you're dealing with clients or creative people, you speak their language. That way they can't take advantage of you as much and go, oh yeah, you wouldn't understand. So like, actually I do understand. I took a course. So,
Yeah.
or you can make your own suggestions. And that's also cool to like, okay, the extra 2 weeks in New York, like did you just say here, I'm taking an extra 2 weeks and that was unpaid, or they like, oh, you can have more vacation time?
Well, they said I could have more vacation time. The
Oh,
bank was really like, yeah, they were really like helpful.
oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and that you repaid them by leaving and coming to Toronto, like, bye.
No, but so I set up like Accelerate TV and it's doing pretty well. Like I was still there like at least 3 years, after.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
yeah,
No, it's not like you took the course and you're like, okay, thanks, bye. Yeah, you gave them a good chunk of your time. That's fine.
yeah.
They're a bank. I'm sure they'll be fine. The Accelerate TV sounds very cool. Like, is it all information about banking, or do they just sponsor it and it's all different kinds of stuff?
So it's different kinds of stuff. It's different kinds of stuff like inspiring content, entertaining content, engaging content for young people. So they could talk about they could have different people like mentors sharing their experiences and how they sort of like, maybe how they overcame maybe a certain challenge in their life. Could be anything, addiction, things basically young people would look forward to listening to. It could be,
Hmm.
it could be about relationships, you know,
Hmm.
life basically.
That's cool.
Mm.
Yeah, well, you could probably contribute some shows. They could Skype with you like this and be like, "Hey, tell us what it's like out in the outside world," and you could report back from Toronto or something for people who want to travel or move there or whatever. Could be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just pitching ideas to you, or you could do your own YouTube channel. I'll bet you could become a popular guy.
I could.
All
I
right. Well,
could take,
this
I could take a few tips from celebrity Josh.
exactly. There we go. Actually, I guess what you're doing now, you are becoming a YouTube star. This is on YouTube, and then this will be your big break. So maybe you just be my correspondent every now and then when you feel like chatting. Well, that's cool. So and why did you? Because all your schools were in the U.S. and everything. How did you decide to? Oh, I guess you took the UX course in Toronto, and then you just liked Toronto. You're like, okay, I'll go there again.
Yeah, so I already like had my permanent residence in Toronto before I came for the UF course. So I just decided to move here. Like, okay, since I'm already like a permanent resident, let me just move. Take on more challenging roles, improve myself in
Yeah,
areas I feel I need to improve myself.
that's good. Yeah, no, Ty. Do you know Ty Lopez?
Yeah,
Yeah, so he's always talking. I mean, if everybody sees his YouTube ads and he's always like, you got to improve yourself. You got to read like
yeah,
a book a week, or Gary V. All these type of people. They're all like, it's all about educating yourself and learning new
yeah.
skills. And so it sounds like what you're doing, and that's interesting because when I was working at an ad agency for 15 years, I hardly ever used my vacation time because at the time I was like, oh, I like to be productive. I don't want to just take vacation. I want to be creative. It didn't occur to me at the time that, okay, you can be creative and work on your own things. I could have taken 2 weeks to go to LA and done stand up. I could have
Mhm.
taken a course like you did. So that's good advice for anybody who's got vacation time and doesn't feel like, oh, I don't need to go to Disney World. You can go to Harvard Business School for 2 weeks, or you can say, I'm
Yeah.
going to take my month and go to New York Film Academy. And would you say that at those places, because one of my issues now is like, God, I've always liked learning. And, maybe 15 years ago, I took a digital editing course at what's the school? George Brown College.
Okay.
And 20 years ago, I took Second City Conservatory. So I've always loved learning, and I've done all the Camp Tech classes in Toronto. So there was like, a 3-hour workshop on WordPress or Google Ads, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Um, but I'm afraid, like, oh, I don't want to. I'm afraid there won't be older people there. Like, is there people of all ages? Would you say?
Yeah. So when I went to New York Film Academy, there were young people there. Young people, students who wanted to learn. I think I was the oldest in my class.
Hmm.
I was probably like 5 years older than anybody else that was there.
Hmm.
And then at Harvard Business School, there were a lot more senior people than myself. There. Some people were like my age mates. Some people were like a lot more senior. But for Harvard, for me, it was more like networking, meeting people from different countries who do like similar things. They're directors of marketing in their companies and all that.
Hmm.
And yeah, so for me, it was always about learning and then networking. Networking was primary for me. That's why I was doing offline, not online, because I could have taken some of these things online as well.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you could watch anything on YouTube at any time.
Yeah.
I like that. I think I was telling you before, maybe before we recorded this, I sold my condo last summer, and I was like, I'm going to travel. And I'm like, I don't know where I want to go. So I finally decided at the beginning of March, I was like, I'm going to go to this podcast convention because in Florida, because I was like, it'd be nice to meet people, and I did. I went for the, it's like a 4-day thing, and I didn't actually go to. I think maybe I popped into a couple of the workshops. Like there was workshops all day, and people were sitting there and taking notes.
Mm.
But I figured, you know what? They're filming it. I can watch all these classes on YouTube later. I'm here to meet people. So I spent most of my time just in the lobby, just talking to people, or I filmed some interviews with people, like sitting down like this. And And that's what I really enjoyed. Like I made friends and met some girl who had met this couple that lives in a van, and we went to their van in the parking lot, and
Mm.
I filmed an interview with them. So that's what I enjoy, and that's what I've always been looking for. That's the reason I wanted to travel, to meet people. It's not so much to sit and just learn something. It's like anywhere you go, and I'm always looking for new ways to do that, because I found, like in university, you start Frosh Week, and everybody's new. You immediately make friends with everybody around you, and you live with them for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep wondering, is there anything like that when you're a grown up? That's why I started thinking, oh, to be a teacher would be cool, because then you'd have all the fellow teachers with you in the teacher's lounge and stuff. But I guess taking courses um, and also I've learned that, or my parents suggest this too, is like if you want to meet people and maybe even find a romantic partner or friends or some, it
Mm-hmm.
better than necessarily dating apps or speed dating, because it's just single people, but you might not have anything in common. But if you do things you're interested in, you'll meet interesting people, like who are into podcasting or who are into
Yeah.
marketing, and then you can all kick ideas around. So I think that's definitely a fun thing. Have you wound up keeping in touch with any of the people you met at all those things?
Yeah, so some of them, like two of the schools. So I was the one who like initiated the idea. So when I went to Harvard, I was like, let's keep in touch. So I created a WhatsApp group for everyone.
Oh,
So everyone is in that WhatsApp group, and we still keep in touch till today. Like last week, someone still shared something on the group. We responded, "Hey, happy birthday!" I think the person was in maybe Italy or Saudi Arabia. So like we're in touch. Kellogg, I also tried doing the same, but the group isn't as active as the Harvard Business School one. Maybe like once in a year, people on Kellogg just say hello or hi to each other. But the Harvard Business School group, like every now and then, every week, someone is saying something. It's more active. Yeah. So I still try to keep in touch with them.
that's a good idea. A WhatsApp group, because that I find that. So I think maybe when you're moving the laptop, it makes the mic go weird.
Yeah.
So uh, yeah, because I've wondered how to keep in touch with people. Like usually I'll add people to Facebook or whatever, but you don't wind up seeing them again. But it's good to make a little group, and then you can all connect. Like the podcast convention I went to, there's a group for the whole convention. So I've been posting some little hello videos lately with my daily question or whatever. And they're like, hey, weren't you the person? Some girl was like, weren't you the one at my trivia table? So see, that's a good way to do it. Or WhatsApp, then you can actually just directly chat. I think they've made it easier now to have rooms on Facebook to chat.
Yeah.
But I was going through my old groups on Facebook, and I found a couple that I didn't even realize I was in, like from when I took something called Tribe Fest, which was like a Jewish, I don't know, just like an event in New Orleans in 2014. And so, but there's still a group. So I posted a video and one of my questions in there. And then there's one I took Al Gore's climate reality, like global warming leader training in Chicago when was it, 2013, something like that. So there's a group for that. So I said hi. So that's a good way to sort of, because you all sort of bonded and met, and it's a good way to keep in touch. And I guess I find that, you know what, it's not like being in university when you're all going to be together for 4 years and do everything together. It's like everybody still has their own lives and their own families or their jobs or whatever they've got. So it's not like you're going to be going for coffee every morning. But yeah, to be able to keep in touch in the Facebook
Yeah.
group and maybe see each other if there's another class everybody goes
Yeah.
to or whatever. Uh, yeah, it's interesting with me because I feel like everybody I meet, I feel like I want to keep in touch with you forever, but that's not really how anything works. You sort of have the time that you had at that time, and then that was fun, and then yeah, maybe you keep in touch. But I guess in life, it's a lot of it is just location, like whoever happens to be around you that you're living with or lives down the street. That's who you spend most of the time with.
Yeah.
But I find that online stuff helps too. Like last month, I started messaging everybody I could think of from high school and university that I've never kept in touch with, and
Mhm.
reconnected with a few people. And it's funny, some people say hi, and then that's the conversation dies. But other people were like, "Hey, yeah, it's so good to hear from you." And one girl said, "Oh my God, I squealed in delight when you messaged me." And so, oh my God, well, why weren't we talking for the past 30 years? But so yeah, it's good to do that. So
What's
oh
your
yeah,
So what spurred you into like starting the podcast?
um, it's funny. Like I think I mean, I've always wanted to do do some kind of talk show or something. Like even when I was in university, I was in a play with a woman, and I drew a cartoon on the card that we made for the director. And she's like, "Oh my God, you draw really well." And she had me be her little sidekick, drawing pictures beside her while she was taking down information about people buying and selling things. Um, and then for 4 years, I was doing live like game shows and trivia or information shows on community cable. And then maybe 15 years ago, a friend of mine had radio connections, and we were hosting on the radio together in Toronto on CFRB. And I've always loved connecting with people, and I've always wanted a radio show. Like, yeah, 20 years ago, I started messaging all the radio stations saying, how can I get on? And I'd met with people, and never really went anywhere. It was tougher without the internet. Like, I'd record something on a cassette tape, and they'd be like, well, a friend had convinced me, actually. They said, make a little demo. So maybe about the school strike, you could interview people. And my friend was like, oh yeah, make it like you don't understand. You think it's the students that are on strike, not the teachers. So I went up to people in the mall and stuff, and they were like, what? And nobody got it. And then the radio station people were like, that's kind of sarcastic humor. We like more happy things. So I shouldn't have listened to my bitter, sarcastic friend. But anyways, and then this other show, Humble and Fred, I think I emailed Howard, and he was like, oh yeah, come by one morning and we can talk. And I never did. And I don't know if it was too early in the morning or what I did. And I wound up talking to him like 15 years later. He's like, well, why didn't you ever come by? I'm like, I don't know. So I feel like I missed a lot of opportunities. And then 10 years ago, when I started hearing about podcasts, I was talking to a producer in advertising. He's like, yeah, there's this guy that does a podcast, and it's called WTF. And maybe we can do one in our studio and get Rogers to sponsor it or something. But we never wound up doing anything. Oh yeah, before that, my friend Renee, this guy who lived in my building, we recorded a show called A Reality Chick, where our idea was to read articles from women's magazines and then give the guys' opinions and tell the truth. Like, well, this is what guys really want. And we recorded one episode, and that was kind of fun. But I guess, I don't know. I don't know why we never did anything with it. It's kind of funny. I've still got the MP3. I should dig that up and post it. Because at the time, I don't think I really knew how to do a podcast. Or I probably could have uploaded it to YouTube, and maybe it is on YouTube. And then I recorded something, the Tommy and Josh show. We recorded one episode. I should look that up. I'm just remembering all this stuff now. This other producer, yeah, he wound up moving to Poland. So nothing happened. And then my friend Tony, who I did radio hosting with, he moved to New York to do his voice acting there. And then a few years ago, we were talking, well, how can we do a podcast together? And he was looking into software for $3,000 that would let us talk to each other and record each other. But we never wound up doing that. And now the technology, I mean, obviously we were just recording ourselves on Skype easily now. And there's also other software where you can, like Squadcast. I'll put my affiliate link to Squadcast in the description, where you can record people on each end and then merge it. And I know I met with this guy. There's this guy in Toronto who does like a comedy podcast. And I met him for coffee. I'm like, can you explain to me how to do a podcast? And he gave me all this. I remember taking all these technical notes, and I just could never figure out, well, how do I get a file up? Like, if I record it, how do I get something up? And I went to a couple of podcast conventions at Ryerson and all this research. And then finally, in January, I just said, okay, I'm just going to record myself. Actually, I just took the audio from a video rant I did. I think maybe in February. It was like about the new Indiana Jones movie. I said, I'm going to sign up for hosting and just take the file and figure out how to get up. So it took me 2 days to sort of figure out how to add ID3 tags and everything. And I finally got the audio up. So then that was it. And then I still didn't do anything. And then I just started interviewing people over Skype a couple of weeks ago, like this, just to do it. Like, they're not perfect. I don't have like a theme song. I don't have sponsors. I just want to talk to people. Like, I enjoy talking to people. I like meeting people and learning about them. It also makes me feel a bit less lonely to feel like I can talk to people. And it gives me an excuse to talk to people maybe I wouldn't otherwise. I was flying. Oh yeah, that's one of the other Facebook groups I've got. It's like the Jewish trip to Israel. I don't know, from like 6 or 7 years ago. And when I was flying to Israel, the girl behind me looked familiar, and I Googled her, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Bar Raffaele. It's a supermodel that used to be dating Leonardo DiCaprio. And then Tony, actually, I texted him, and he's like, oh, she was just on the Howard Stern show. And I'm like, okay, when I get back to Toronto, I'm going to start a radio show or a podcast so that next time I see somebody like that, I can hand her my card and say, hey, come on my show. I figured if I had a show, it would give me an excuse to talk to anybody. And then I heard that Mark Maron was like interviewing Jennifer Lawrence and Barack Obama in his garage. I'm like, that's so cool. So yeah, it's a combination of, I've always liked entertaining people. I've always wanted a radio show ever since I saw the movie Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater when I was in high school. And actually, I found some cassette tapes from when I was like 12 or something of me interviewing my sister. And I'm like, is this me? Because I sound like a girl, but my voice is, just high, I guess. And I was just like, had a double tape deck. So I'd record myself talking like, here we are. And I'm interviewing I interviewed my sister. I'm like, tell me what the weather is. Is it raining chickens? I don't know what we were talking about. And then I would cut to music and I would just turn on the radio for a bit and then come back. Okay, now we're back. And this was like long before the internet existed. So who was I doing this for, right? Nobody was ever going to hear my cassette tape. So I guess it shows it was kind of in my blood. And so it's a combination of always wanting to do a show. A podcast allows me to at least have some control over it. Like, it's hard to break into a radio job, especially older. Like Humble was like, yeah, I mean, if you're 20 years old and you work in a small town, you work your way up for 20 years. And now it's probably, with the internet, it's even harder. Like radio stations aren't doing well. There's not a lot of jobs out there. It'd be hard to replicate Howard Stern's success these days, maybe. And so, yeah, podcast allows you to just do it. So who knows? Maybe nobody will ever listen to this. But I figure, you know what? Sometimes you talk to people on the phone for half an hour anyways. Might as well do it and record it. And then, like, if I had to go back and edit this afterwards and listen to an hour of a conversation, and then I don't think I would ever get it done. It's hard enough just to post it as is. Like, I've still got a conversation for an hour and a half talk from last Wednesday that I need to upload. So the Skype cut out and halfway through. So, okay, I got to merge the two files, and then I got to write all the descriptions. It still kind of takes like an hour to do all the crap. So yeah, it's not that easy, but I'm hoping it goes somewhere. I feel, because I'm sort of trying to look, like I was saying, I'm looking for what would give me pleasure in life now, some kind of satisfaction. I sort of go, okay, well, Mark Maron does stand up and he interviews people, and so does Joe Rogan. He's got a very popular YouTube and podcast, but also does stand up. And I'm like, well, that seems to encompass my skills. It could be something I would enjoy. And then, yeah, I feel like a lot of internet stuff is for very young people, like TikTok. It's like I'm dancing or I'm doing little pranks. And as a maturer person, I feel like maybe my skills would be better lent towards, okay, well, if I'm talking to people, I've got the wisdom of life. I can have interesting discussions. And a few years ago, I met a woman who was interviewing people at the Toronto International Film Festival. And I wound up connecting with her and helping her film herself on the red carpets. And then I would walk off and interview people on my own a little bit. And then the next year, I got a pass for a couple of days to do that myself. And so I've got some interviews on red carpets with like celebrities. I would draw cartoons of them and then show them to them. So I've got like Jim Carrey or James Franco looking at my cartoons, and the people I talk to for like longer, like a producer that works with Tom Hanks all the time. He was like, "Oh, you're really interesting. We should like hang out and have drinks and stuff." And so people I talked to really enjoyed talking to me, because I feel like when I'm with kids, I talk to them like they're just regular people, and I think they appreciate that. And I think it's the same with celebrities. I'm just like, hey, how's it going? And so so hopefully I can translate it into some kind of, I don't know, just keep doing it. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, finding that purpose, and then what gives you fulfillment, and and doing it anyway. Like, there never would be a perfect time, and in trying things and always like doing things, you become perfect or you become better at whatever it is you're doing. So there's no need to wait for the perfect moment. Somehow, sometime, you may start to monetize, what you're doing right now. And, then, at that point, you're like, okay, so I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm meeting people, and then I'm also making money,
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's what all the gurus say. Like, I follow this podcast, or I've listened to it, Kathy Heller's Don't Keep Your Day Job. And she's always like, just start it. Like, you'll figure, the only way to learn is to do it. So, I mean, there'll never be a perfect time when you're, okay, now I figured it out. You just got to start it. And then even this guy Chris, who started the podcast convention I went to, he wrote a little book called Start Ugly, and it's just about whatever it is, just start. And
Mm.
maybe the technology's not great, or you haven't figured out what to do, or you don't have a theme song yet. Just keep throwing it out there, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm glad I finally did it, and I should force myself. And even right now, because I'm staying with my parents, so it's not ideal. Like the Wi-Fi doesn't reach the basement, so I've got to come upstairs. But it's kind of an open space here, so it's hard to find a place where I'm not interfering with everybody else. But I'm like, yeah, I'll just sit on the couch and do it because just get it done. Because I feel like, every day that goes by, you're like, well, that was another day I could have done something. So there's no point in waiting for
Yeah.
tomorrow. It'll be better. Or like today, even I was like, oh, I'm tired, but I'm always tired. I always have trouble sleeping. So just got to churn it out. And then if you want to do a different version, you just, hey, we'll record another talk tomorrow. And I really don't know what the point is. Like lately, I've also started, I had the idea like a week or two ago, you know what, I should ask questions on my Facebook and Instagram, like to encourage engagement. So just be like, hey, question of the day. Are you enjoying the nice weather, or what are you looking forward to in the summer, or whatever, kind of like a talk radio show would be. And that's been kind of fun. And then I had the idea to start posting videos like that in Facebook groups, like Jewish singles groups that I join, or digital nomad groups where I've wanted to meet the people, but I didn't know how to meet them. But I'm like, okay, I'll post my questions in there, and that way people engage, and then they notice me and they message me. And so that actually worked out well. But I posted in too many groups, and now Facebook's kind of blocked me from uploading videos or posting to groups. So I'm still able to post on my actual page, which I don't use much, but so I put on the page, and then I can share that to groups or whatever. So I still have to figure out how to do it without getting blocked. But I've been putting the videos up on Instagram too, and I think people kind of like them. But yeah, it's tough to know. It's like, money wise, yeah, it's still not making any money. Um, until you've got some kind of business to sell or whatever, it might never. But it's more for the fulfillment. But it's hard to know whether it is fulfilling. Like even if you get a bunch of likes on Instagram or whatever, it's not the same. It's not as satisfying as real life interaction. Like you mess it, like it's just, and I guess everybody knows this. It's like not satisfying. But then I start to wonder, even if I was somehow famous, would that make a difference? Like, I'm not going to be like a Harry Styles with girls screaming at me in a stadium. But even if I was like a Louis C.K. doing comedy and people are like, hey, you're really funny. I don't know. You see these videos with like Cameron Diaz or Jim Carrey. I think it was Cameron Diaz for sure saying like, I wish everybody could get rich and famous and then discover that, oh my God, it isn't as, it won't make you happy. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make me happy to know that, because then if I don't even have that to dream about and strive for, what is it? And I guess her point is that it's more important to have family and friends, and the fame doesn't get you anything. But I was always hoping that, actually, that's why I wanted to be on the radio as well, because I felt it made me feel less lonely. I feel like if I'm on the air and people are listening and they're calling in, I felt like kind of a community. And I guess I was always hoping too that if I reach enough people, maybe my true love is out there and she'll hear me on the radio and go, hey, you were interesting, and we'll connect that way, rather than me having to randomly bump into her somewhere. But I also realized that I've had amazing girlfriends in all the decades of my life, and I broke up with them because I'm like, I don't want my life to be set in stone yet. I need to be in Hollywood. I just, it scared me to go, this is the one person I'm with forever. But now I realize that's just one component of things. You could have had that person as your companion, and 20 years ago, if I'd had a kid, I'd have a 20-year-old kid now, and then I could be doing other things. And but it's tough to learn that lesson later. It's like there's so many different things I would go back now and do. I would go back to university, and maybe I'd become, I don't know, maybe I'd take radio in college and become a radio person, or maybe I would just stay in university and work there, and maybe I'd marry my first girlfriend. But everybody says you can't have regrets. I guess everybody goes back and go, oh, I should have done this or that. But what's the, it's very tough. It's obviously there's no benefit to that, but it's very tough to shut your brain off. I wish I was like a Vulcan and could say, no, don't do that. Just live in the moment. Yeah. Any thoughts on all that?
Have you heard of the word called ikigai?
Ikigai? No, is that a Nigerian word? Oh, wait. That sounds actually familiar. Ikigai. What is that?
It's a Japanese word.
Okay, yeah, Japanese. Because I was in Japan twice. Ikigai.
It means It means the reason for being. I had this small like illustration I wanted to share with you.
Okay.
Yeah. How do I share it now?
Oh, how do you share something on the screen here? Let's see. If I press my little three dots, if I press the three dots at the bottom of my phone, it says share screen. Um,
Okay.
but so do you have something like that at the bottom of your thing?
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see your screen now. Ikigai. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a Japanese meaning concept meaning a reason for being. I was still sharing this with someone last week, and then I was telling her like ikigai is that point where like everything sorts of merges. So what you love with what you're good at, what the world needs, and then what you can be paid for. You know.
Right. And then if where those all merge in the middle. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So if people can't see this, you can look up Ikigai, Ikigai, and there's like what do you call these things? A Venn diagram. So yeah, one is what you love, one is what you're good at, one is what you can get paid for, one is what you need. And then when they match, there's different sections. So if it's what you love and what you're good at, that's your passion. Or if it's what you're good at and what you can be paid for, that's your profession. If it's what you can be paid for and what the world needs, that's your vocation. And if it's what the world needs and what you love, that's your mission. And then when all four of those meet, it's your ikigai. And then what are those? Oh, and there's even smaller things in there. What is that? Satisfaction but feeling of uselessness, comfortable but feeling of emptiness, excitement and complacency but sense of uncertainty, delight and fullness but no wealth. And then right in the middle, that's where they all meet. And then you can do everything. A Japanese concept meaning reason for being. Wow. So let me look here. So what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it feels like a lot of people are looking for that. And I feel like probably most people maybe don't agonize this over as much. I think most people are, I don't want to say simple, but maybe less neurotic or, I don't know. Maybe not most people, but a lot of people have whatever, they do their job and whatever that is, whether they work at Walmart or uh, they're a teacher or they deliver the mail or whatever it is, that's what they do and it's fine. And then they were smart enough to marry their high school sweetheart and they get married and they have kids and then they go out to Disney World for vacation and they watch Netflix or whatever. I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm just looking at the outside world going, everybody's got a perfect life. But I was always like, no, 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 no. I've got to be, I've always had all these creative interests. I wrote storybooks when I was a kid and illustrated them. And I was just thinking about my grade 3 teacher because I was thinking about, oh, I should have been a teacher. I'm like, does she like teaching? I don't think she's teaching now. She's on Facebook. But she had me write a play for the kids to act out. And I was like, okay, there's got to be something I'm doing. And I took Second City classes and I've done stand up. I'm like, one of these is going to fulfill me. I don't know anymore. I don't know what it is. I feel like it doesn't matter. I feel like maybe you've got to find that balance. Like I feel like if I had married a girlfriend like 10, 15 years ago and had that comfort and that purpose and for her to grow together, I'd be like comfortable there. And then I would be able to also enjoy, okay, I'm working on a screenplay or whatever. But I feel like because I've always been running around trying to find everything, like, oh no, I'm just going to go on another date with different people and find the perfect girl or whatever it is. I was never settled there. And at the same time, I never sort of picked a creative thing to say, okay, I'm just doing stand up every week and that's it. It's always been like, And it's very easy to be lazy and go, oh, I'll work on my stand up tomorrow or I'll work on something tomorrow. And then 10, 20 years goes by and you're like, oh, I never got into Saturday Night Live or whatever. And then when I was, 10 years ago, I was like, oh, it's too late to do anything. But now I'm like, look what I could have done for the past 10 years. And I just wasted another 10 years. So so I don't know who this applies to, the Ikigai. But I know, like, for example, in that Don't Keep Your Day Job group, it's about, like leaving your job and finding your dream job and what you enjoy doing and being creative and giving to the world. Like that woman, Kathy, was a songwriter and she got kicked out of her, like her company that was representing her or whatever. And then she was writing songs for commercials to make money. And then everybody's asking how to make money being creative. And and she realized, hey, I can teach people how to do this. So she's got a podcast about teaching, and I guess she's found her purpose that way. And she's got her tribe and all these. It seems to be mostly women for some reason, but that's fine. I like being around women, and that's why I was like, oh, that'd be good to be a teacher too, because I'd be surrounded by women, and I like that energy. I get along better with women. But yeah, I guess it's funny because I try to talk to, like, when young people ask, like, what should I do, or they're looking for advice on LinkedIn or whatever, I try to tell them, yeah, like, find that thing that you enjoy doing and do it now. Don't do a job just because, oh, I feel like I should do a job and make money. Like, if there's something you really want to do, like it's acting or radio or something, just do it now while you can, and don't waste that time, because you can always go back and get some kind of weird job or whatever for money. Money comes and goes very easily, especially goes. But yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's funny because all my life I've been looking for my ikigai, and I think I've known what it is. I like entertaining people. Like, I would want to be Jimmy Kimmel and interviewing people, but doing stand up, but getting to talk to new people every day, and maybe write a movie about myself. Like Jimmy Fallon was acting in movies. Like, those people are doing all the things I wanted to do. And for years I would, like, oh, I forgot, I took a screenwriting class at George Brown as well, and for like a year, different levels, and went to LA to stay with a friend to finish the screenplay, and I entered it into a contest, just the first draft, and it won a big award in LA, and got all these notes from a New York producer, but I never sat down to work on that more, because I was like, I felt like, I don't know, it's depressing to sit and look at a laptop. I'll bet if I had a girlfriend, though, at the time, and just had settled down, I'd be like, okay, daddy's going to work on his screenplay, and I would have had that comfort, but I always felt too alone to work on the screenplay. So I don't know. Yeah, I started all these little projects and never went anywhere, and I'm hoping maybe I can still do something. I mean, I feel like with the internet now, anything could happen fast, right? Like, maybe this show catches on. Maybe, I don't even know what this show is about. Like, this Celebrity Josh is not, it's just like a general talk show, but it seems to be becoming a lot about me talking about what's the purpose of anything. But maybe people will appreciate that. I don't know. But maybe it catches on, but then what? I don't know. But I think I just have to, I think interviewing people also gives me a sense to remind myself that everybody's just working on their stuff. Like, everybody's doing their thing. And like, I watched on Instagram today, this influencer model agency or something went live, and the beautiful French model was interviewing a slightly younger, beautiful British model. And they're talking about makeup or whatever, modeling life. But the model was saying, and the one she was interviewing is like 24, or just turned 24. And she's like, yeah, it's a lonely business. Like, I don't know. I was sent to Paris when I was 16, and I was wandering around, and you couldn't use your phone for maps, and you had to use a book. And it's a lonely, and I'm like, models are lonely? But the French woman was saying, everybody has to know that, on Instagram, you see people's perfect lives, but you don't see when they're lonely or the downsides. So I guess even supermodels are, looking for their thing. Not everybody is perfectly happy all the time. And that's what I learned messaging my friends from university. Like, my first girlfriend, she's married with 3 kids and probably has the perfect life. She lives in Ottawa. But other people, a guy friend of mine was Mr. Family Man. He's got 2 grown kids, but he's getting a divorce now. Or this other woman never had kids, and she's got a boyfriend now who's got a 15-year-old daughter. And that's only been for the past year that she's got that boyfriend, and she's liking it. So everybody's got a different path. Or an old friend of mine, it was like, oh, I envy, he's got a couple of kids now that he just got. He's teaching English far away, but now he's like, I envy you, the freedom you have. Like, you can, if I wasn't married, I could go play poker or play hockey or whatever. And so the grass always seems to be greener, because I'm like, I don't want freedom. I want it. A friend of mine just messaged me last night or a couple nights ago. She's like, no, you're a grass is always greener guy, but you always look at the grass on the other side and go, oh, that looks yellow. But then you realize it was green, but it's too late. It's like, so I don't know. It's funny looking at the screen here. I'm seeing myself on your screen, and then myself on my own screen. Lots going on there. Maybe I'll flip it back to vertical. I'm not sure how this is all going to work. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess that was just a long rant. But yeah, hopefully people can. Yeah, it'd be interesting exercise for people to do the ikigai guy. That's not the screen. I can't remember what it's called. Especially in high school or whatever, and go, okay, what are some things? But the funny thing is, though, technology keeps changing too. Like, until recently we couldn't have done this live video chat. Instagram stories didn't exist until recently, like all this stuff. So, I can sit here and go, oh, I should have done this 20 years ago. But yeah, when I was mailing out VHS tapes to places, it was a bit harder. I wish I could have done YouTube now, or I wish I had kids now and I could be making TikTok videos with them. But I guess you can only move forward from now. Do you think you found your ikigai?
Well, like, so for me, I'm always, there are things that I like, or there are things that I love, you know, there are things that the world wants. But sometimes, like, for me, I feel like, so let me give you an example to be very practical. Like, I love filmmaking,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I enjoy doing is when I watch movies, breaking them down. Like, I started off writing books. I was writing novels when I was like 16 and 15. You know, I wrote a couple of manuscripts that I haven't published. So for me, I was doing a lot of like thinking, writing, and I was writing screenplays and all that. And then I'm like, okay, I have too many stories. Instead of writing maybe like 100 books, why don't I just like make some of these stories into films? I like movies. I like how they are made. I like the whole concept of multimedia. And that's why I wanted to go to New York Film Academy. So for me, like, I enjoy making films. I made one last October. It's going to come out sometime next month. So I enjoy making films. I enjoy making movies. But then I also enjoy education. Like, I enjoy teaching people. And I think teaching people gives me fulfillment in terms of the fact that, one, I'm passing knowledge to the other person. To the other person is learning and is on a path towards becoming better. So what gives me joy is the fact that I'm making somebody else better. I'm helping somebody else see the light. I'm helping someone else have like a clearer line of view or line of sight, you know. So that's what sort of gives me joy, teaching. But sometimes, like some of all these other things that you do when you help people and you find fulfillment helping people may not necessarily bring you money or bring you money immediately, So I'd say I still have some of those things in different pockets, but I won't say I found that ikigai in terms of what makes me money, what I love to do, what the world wants, and all that. But I have it in different pockets in terms of, okay, I like to do this to help people in this aspect. I like to make money from this aspect. Well, making money from this aspect doesn't necessarily mean I want to devote my entire life to maybe doing marketing or doing digital marketing and all that. Like, I enjoy marketing, I enjoy selling to people, I enjoy um, coming up with ideas and brainstorming and all that. But do I want to do that my whole life? No, probably not. I may end up
Yeah.
making films.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I guess, of course it'd be perfect if everybody could find their ikigai that they love and everybody pays them money and everybody needs it. But, that's maybe not realistic. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's, I mean, I think if you can't find that specific thing, I think it's okay to split things up. Like, if you make money doing
Mm.
digital marketing or whatever, but in the evening you love doing stand-up comedy. Like, it's very hard. Like,
Yeah.
hardly anybody makes money from stand-up comedy. And if you need money to live, you got to do it. Like, I had my improv teacher, like one of my first teachers she was a receptionist at an ad agency, but she would do her improv shows and teaching improv on the side. Or, oh yeah. So it was a good job because they would let her skip off during the day for auditions or whatever. So, she had enough money to live. And I guess you just got to figure it out and make sure you're doing what you love as well. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think it's good to just say, okay, well, I got to work for money and I'm going to leave my dreams completely aside. Like, make sure if there's something you like doing, do that. And of course, if you can figure out how to monetize it. And I guess they always say there's ways to, find, like, if you love doing improv comedy, then you could teach improv and that's how you make money and combine it. But sometimes that's not even as fulfilling. Like, if you want to be doing it, finding sort of a halfway of making money in that sort of field might not be completely fulfilling either. I know what you're saying about teaching. Like, I just remember a few years ago when I was running for member of parliament and a grade 6 class asked me to come in and talk to them. Maybe it's grade 5. But I remember even just sitting there for like half an hour talking to the kids and hearing their smart questions and everything. Like it just made my heart burst. I was like, oh my God, like and maybe part of it is I wish I had my own kids, but I also love teaching kids. And I just wonder why I've pushed myself away from that all my life. Like anything I've enjoyed so much, I can barely handle it. I just never occurred to me that you could do that. You could have that joy every day. So that's frustrating. But I got to remember, I'm trying to tell myself not everything's perfect. Like even if you were a teacher, it's not just all fun and games. You have to spend time marking things and doing work and whatever. So maybe that would take away from, wanting to work on your films or whatever. Like not everything is I got to remind myself, like if I was a teacher, yeah, that's a job that you go there every day. You're there 9 to 5. But I just remember I've been thinking about my high school teachers lately about how they would teach, like cross country after school or something, or the drama or like little side things. And I'm like, obviously they love doing it. That's why they were doing it after school as well. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I had something like that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so the teaching sounds good, but yeah, a lot of people have been saying, oh, you can go teach English somewhere now, or you could teach at a community college advertising. So I guess there's different ways to do it, even if I don't want to go to teacher's college for 2 years or somehow do a PhD. But I also hope that maybe doing internet stuff, like maybe all the young people of the world will get information from this, or there's a way to reach them that way. I don't know. If you start thinking about it too much, it just becomes overwhelming. So I'm just trying to take it day by day and go, okay, right now I'm interviewing someone. I'll post that. What's my next step? What's my next little step? Um, and yeah. So that, yeah, what you're talking, and it's like what you're saying. Like I thought advertising would be creative, and I look back now. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that necessarily, but I don't think you can go back and second guess everything. Maybe at the time it's what I enjoyed and thought would be fun, and it was fun for a little bit, and I shot commercials with people and stuff, and then you can change and you can say, okay, well maybe I don't want to do that forever now. What else am I going to do? I don't think I have to believe that realizing now that something else would have given me pleasure doesn't negate everything I did and mean I've wasted all that time.
Yeah, true. Because you've also like learned like a lot from whatever it is that you've done in the past. You've met people. I was speaking with one of my mentors, while I was at the bank, and he told me, he was asking me a question. So he's like, so you've done social media, digital marketing for a couple of years, let's say like 7, 8 years. It's like, what next? What next? And then he was explaining to me as well that people have 1, 2, 3 different careers in their life. Um, he talked about a friend of his that was doing marketing and sales, and then the next phase of his life, he was the CEO of one of the top insurance companies in Nigeria. And he said he did that for 10 years. He did sales and marketing for 10 years. He was the CEO of an insurance company for 10 years. So he said he was asking his friends, so what next for you? The guy said he's going to be a lecturer. He's going to be teaching students. Like that's the next thing for him. So people like decide, what, for these 5 years of my life or 10 years of my life, this is what I want to do. And then the next 10 years of my life, I'm going to switch and do something else. So it doesn't mean that whatever it is you've done in the past is a waste. You could have done something better. For me, I feel like it's failing forward. Like I don't mind failing and failing and failing again, provided like I'm not failing backwards, but I'm failing forward. Because whatever failure it is that I experience is taking me forward towards my goal. So time is never a challenge. I'm not going to regret that whatever age I am, maybe going close to 40. I'm not going to regret that, oh, I could have done this when I was 20. I'm going to make the best use of the time I have now, and I'm going to look forward and look at the dreams I have in front of me and see what I can do to achieve those dreams. There are people that, they didn't become successful writers until they were 50. People like I can't remember if it's any Blyton. There are people that started writing at the age of 50 or 60 and they made their first million at 65. Some people make their first million at 25 and they blow it before they are 27, and then they don't make millions after that. Some people make their millions at 50, finding fulfillment and purpose in whatever it is they're doing. So my own advice is always like, whatever point you are in life, whether you're 40 or 45, Just pick up your life from wherever it is. Look at where you want to be and your goals. Forget what it is that you've lost, in the past. Forget whatever it is that has happened to you, and just be positive always. Even if it's not looking fulfilling, even if it's not looking like where you want to be, just stay positive. Keep looking forward, and keep reaching for your goal. When you get there, you may find out that it's not what you want. But when you get to that point and you realize it's not what I want, but this is the next thing I want, go for it. Like, just go for it.
Yeah. Makes sense. There was a woman who just posted on LinkedIn yesterday, who I guess has been a creative director, and the post was something like, after years of climbing the corporate ladder, my friend and I realized, oh, we don't like the view from here, and so we've started our own ad agency that's all about heart and ethics and kindness, and now she's all happy. And I left some depressing comment like, oh, I wish I could find my happiness, and I think I should have been a teacher. And she's like, hey, with your comedic sensibilities and all you've learned in the industry, your skills, you could totally be a teacher. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, it's never too late. And so, yeah, so the same kind of thing. Like, you could be climbing towards something, and maybe it's not right or whatever. You do something else. Like, even I drew a cartoon of what's her name, the Dragon's Den woman, Eileen Dickinson. She wrote a book called Reinvention because I think her business got flooded and she had to start a new business or whatever. So everybody's got different stages. And yeah, I keep telling myself not everybody, yeah, like everybody's got different stages. Like I guess I keep referencing like the girl who was a big YouTuber but died of cystic fibrosis when she was like 20, like recently. And so she's never, as much as she was younger, she only had that time. Or this Israeli soldier that got hit by a rock that somebody threw at him like last week. It's like he was 21 and that's it, right? So not, or yeah, you could be like, write your book at 50 or 65 or whatever. Like, I think everybody's got different paths, and you can always do different things at different times. So that's very motivational. And I guess do you want to say how old you are, or should we not?
So I'll be 37 in 2 months.
Okay, so you're 36. Okay, so
Yeah.
so now people can sort of just picture in terms of, yeah, like all the things you've been saying, how it relates. And that's actually, I remember when I turned 36, that's when I had a meltdown. I remember 35 for some reason wasn't a big deal, but 36, I remember that on my actual birthday or just right around there, I was like, oh my God, why am I not on Saturday Night Live? Why am I not all the things I thought I would be? So I said to myself, I'm going to make content every single day now to get ahead. And so I started filming video. This before iPhones could film or whatever, but I had a little digital camera, so I went to a girl's house, and I was like, here, I'd be in my skits, and I would film little skits. It was me selling things on my online store or something, like being sarcastic, selling bottles of pop or whatever, or old Transformer toys I found, or little skits where I was like a spy saying, if you're watching this, I'm already dead, or something like just I think I made, I don't know, like 4 or 5 videos, and then I didn't start doing the daily things. But back then, I think I was actually one of the, like you'd see rankings like top Canadian comedy YouTuber, and I was like in the top number 10 or something. I'm like, what? But yeah, probably should have pursued it. And then you realize, you look back, you're like, hey, 10 years ago, I was kind of young. It's like I could have still done stuff. And um, so yeah, you always think. I remember when I was 18, I was like, oh, when I'm 27, it's going to be like the year 2000. It's going to be too old to party at New Year's. But now I'm like, what? 27? I could have been in, Ibiza or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, so inspirational. And yeah, I remember I interviewed an actor. I still haven't posted it yet, but a couple of months ago, he's must be early 30s, and I was telling him I'm still working on things, and he thought I was younger because I look younger, and I told him my age, and he's like, "Oh, well, good for you. Most people your age would have quit by now." And I'm like, "Thanks, I think." Um, but yeah, we're all on our journey. So great. Well, thank you for the very inspirational talk, and hopefully we can talk again and keep hearing about all the things you're working on.
Yeah, sure.
And is there anywhere people should follow you, or like, I guess, do you post, or you're not a YouTuber yourself, or I don't know.
Well, I haven't started the YouTube channel, but I have I'm on Twitter at Segun SD. I'm on Instagram at Segun SD. That's SEGUN SD. You know,
Cool.
or SD. On Instagram. Like, you can practically find me anywhere at
Yeah.
Segun. SD, whether it's Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Segun SD, everywhere.
Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm sure people will follow for more motivational, and I mean, you with all these courses and everything, you've done more than most people ever do, kind of thing, and you just keep working at it and improving yourself and meeting people and loving what you're doing, and yeah, a lot of people would be trapped. They'd be like, okay, I'm in this country and that's where I am forever or whatever. But now you're like, no, I feel like moving to Toronto. I'm in Toronto now. It's like, why not? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Cool. All right. Well, enjoy the warmer weather in Toronto, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. Thanks for being on Celebrity Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Nice talking to you.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.